You mean he runs through walls and has 3 rockets up his ass? Sign me up. That was Chris Sims talking about Lewis Cine pre-draft. Vikings took Lewis Cine with the 32nd overall pick. Here's the call from the Vikings GM, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, to Lewis Cine on draft night.
Yeah, please. Lewis, what's going on, man? It's Kwesi.
Nice to meet you, dude. It's Lou.
Yeah, yo, we're a building full of dream chasers in here. You want to come join us?
Sign me in.
Yo. Hey, man. Apparently we both interned at Morgan Stanley, so I think this was all meant to be one day. Yeah, it's me. Hold up. We're about to turn the pick. Here's Coach O'Connell. Hold up.
Lewis, congratulations, my man. I'm doing great. I did not intern at Morgan Stanley, but I can tell you I'm going to be really excited to be your head coach, man. You're a big-time player. Our coaches are fired up to get you here, man. Congrats to you and your family. You're a first-round pick in the NFL draft, man. Congratulations.
Hey, man. I'm excited, brother. Thank you for having me, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, please.
Welcome to Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm your host, David Shelsky. You can follow me on Twitter at SkullWorld and at MN Sports Podcast. During this podcast, take a moment to go down and leave a comment and tell me what you think of the Vikings picking Lewis Cine with the 32nd overall pick. While you're at it, hit like and subscribe so you can help me keep more, not less, Vikings content on the interwebs. Now let's talk about how the Vikings selected Lewis Cine. Now on draft night, I was just as amazed as everybody else that the Vikings pulled off a trade. Now, did I think we would trade down? If you go look at my previous videos, I was talking about, hey, if we stick, these are players I would really like to consider. And if the Vikings decide to trade down, I would understand that. And that was especially if the top 2 cornerbacks went early, and they did. So we were sitting there at pick 12, and I did about 3 videos on players that I like, and it just so happened to be about Jameson Williams and other receivers, but I really like Jameson Williams, Jordan Davis, and Kyle Hamilton. All 3 players still there at pick number 12. Well, the Vikings pulled the trade off with the Lions. They received 32, 34, and 66, and the Lions received 12 and 46. So ultimately, the Vikings moved down 20 spots to 32. They move up 12 spots in the second round from 46 to 34, and they get an extra pick at 66. Early third round, so pretty close to the second round. Now, like most people, I was shocked at that trade and disappointed, and to find out that we didn't get more for this. Even people were thinking, and myself included, was like, maybe we got next year's number 1 for this big of a jump up in the first round. So I was disappointed. Now, the new age draft scales lean towards the Vikings. The old age draft scales lean towards the Lions. So it's a little bit of a wash, but we still feel disappointed we didn't get more. But who did we get as a player? Now, Lewis Cine, pretty good player. There's a lot of draft experts, quote unquote experts, that gave us B's or A's and not many. Now there's a couple outlets that give us like an F minus. They really didn't like it, and they're really centering around the trade. They really think that we got screwed on the trade, but it turns out it's a little bit of a wash considering, just the new age trading that's going on, the new scales that they're looking at, the draft charts. Now, I said I like Jameson Williams, I like Jordan Davis, and I like Kyle Hamilton. I did videos on these guys. Now, what happens? We trade out the first guy to go, Jameson Williams, the Lions. Now we got to face him. He's still recovering from a knee injury that he got in the national championship game. Unfortunate for him, but apparently he's making a speedy recovery and still thinks he's going to play week 1, a preseason week 1. Now Jordan Davis, I thought he could have been the nose tackle for years to come. I really liked him. He's a force to be reckoned with. And then Kyle Hamilton, I thought he was a pretty safe bet to replace Harrison Smith at safety when we decide to part ways with him, which could be coming soon considering the cap hits that he has and how old he is. Now, what did we do? We traded down and we ended up getting Lewis Cine, safety from Georgia, and he's turning out to be a very good pick. The more work I did, the more video I watched of him, the more I heard actual NFL scouts or prognosticators or just people that know football, and just the eye test of the videos that I've watched. Lewis Cine, well deserving of a first round grade. And I'll talk more about that, or what maybe other teams that leaked out that, how high they had them up, how high they had Lewis Cine up on their board. I'll show you videos of plays he's made, just what scouts thought of him, quotes from him, other aspects of his career. So stick with me, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let's talk about Lewis Cine's measurables. He's 6'2", weighs 199 pounds. His arms are 32 1/4 inches. Hands are 9 3/8. 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.37, which is really good for his safety. Vertical jump 36 1/2. Broad jump 133 inches. Works out to be a little over 11 feet. Now a report came out that he ran the 10-yard dash in a 1.45 seconds. So they measured him as he was running the 40, where he crossed at 10 yards. He ran a 1.45 second at the combine, 10-yard dash, the fastest of any player in this year's draft, and tied for the fastest of any safety ever. Now, if you know anything about a spider chart, it is basically the measurables and how he compares against safeties and by percentile. Now, his height, he was 93%. His weight is 20%, so on the lighter side. Does he have the frame to add some weight? Yeah, but I think at like 208, 209, he's kind of maxing out. So that might be something. Now, I'll give you an idea. Marvin Harrison and Kyle Hamilton are like in the 220. Wingspan 82 percentile, so he's got a lot of length. 6'2", long arms. Arm length 71%. Hand size 54. That shocked me because those seem like 9 3/8 seems like big hands to me. 10-yard split 83 percentile. 40-yard dash 95 percentile. Vertical jump 71 percentile. 36 1/2, not bad. But broad jump 96 percentile. I said that was 11 feet's pretty amazing. Now, one of the things I like about Lewis Cine is quotes. He was quoted as saying, "The fact that I can be all out physical. Football is a violent game. A lot of things you do in football you can't do in the outside world. I love that fact." Now, he's also being known to be kind of one of the smarter players on the field. Even though his Wonderlic, he got like a 16. It's below average, but on football, playing defense, he's not a quarterback. But he was a quarterback for the Georgia defense. He's the one who lined players up and told them what the tendencies were, where they needed to line up, and he knew where to line up himself. And you could tell by the way he played of his play recognition and how fast he got to the ball. He played fast, so that means he was thinking fast. Now, that can be attributed to this quote. I watched a whole lot of film. I took care of my craft the right way, and I showed up on the football field. Or it showed up on the football field. In terms of the versatility that I brought to UGA, that came with me being smart and watching a whole lot of film and being a student of the game. Let's do a little bit of film study. This play is Lewis Cine coming from the offensive right side of the ball to the offensive left side of the ball. There was a little misdirection, a little fake handoff to the right, a receiver coming underneath the play out into the flat. Lewis Cine gobbles up the ground, makes the play.
Backpedaling, Young gets it to Bolden, but he's not going to get there. Lewis
in position, comes up there and makes the tackle on Bolden. Also the pressure. How many times did we see Bryce Young fall?
This next play shows Lewis Cine's athletic ability. The Tennessee quarterback looks like he's throwing back shoulder towards the back of the end zone. It looked like a fade route, but you could see that Tennessee threw it. The Tennessee quarterback threw it back shoulder. The Tennessee player looking like he was trying to get position. Lewis Cine came underneath the play, jumped up high, and almost picked off the ball, showing his, again, 36.5-inch vertical and his ability to play the ball. Check it out.
To miss. Milton fires to the corner, tipped away at the last moment by Lewis Cine.
This record, it's 41-10, and they've got their starter this last score. Great cover.
There were questions about Lewis Cine and his covering ability of wide receivers. I do not think that is an issue. This next play is one of my favorite, although not spectacular, but you could tell a receiver makes a quick fake to the outside. It looks like it's just going to be a sideline route. It makes sense. He curls up instead. Lewis Cine looks like he takes a jab step to go outside, but reads and reacts, closes on the ball, and knocks it out of the receiver's hand, making the play.
Here comes the pressure. They pick it up. Ball out. Catch made. No, incomplete. Galloway.
And he does a nice little whip route, comes back underneath, and as soon as he has the ball in his hand, knock it right there with his hand. Gets his hand on the ball to dislodge it.
A common theme of Lewis Cine is that he's a cleaner. He cleans up plays. And this next clip shows Lewis Cine playing deep safety, it looks like, and seeing a screenplay and then coming up where the offensive lineman can't react. He comes so fast, and he cleans up the play. Check it out.
For Mizzou. Cook to set up the screen on first down. He does so to Beatty, and look at the pursuit.
I think Lewis Cine is the cleaner. The next couple plays I'm going to show you, they're back-to-back. The last clips I'm going to show you is you can see other Georgia defensive backs doing a little dance, not sure what to do, and Lewis Cine whips by him, making the play each time. Lewis Cine is the cleaner.
And there's only 3 minutes left. Swing pass out to Robinson again. And again, the Georgia defense, and Cine comes up.
All the pursuit come inside. Force them inside, and you get Cine make it.
Levis fires it out in the flat to McLean. McLean trying to make Jordan miss, and that is not a miss.
Coming from the left.
Lewis says, I've seen this before.
Now, all those clips show Lewis Cine is a pretty heck of a good football player. There's no doubt about it. He's fast. He's physical. I think one commentator calls it legalized violence. Now, some of these are not his biggest hits. Now, there are some big hits that he's made. I didn't focus on that. I focused on some of these plays that show him coming out of nowhere, covering ground, making the tackle, being decisive, reading the play. It just, he knows football. He knows how to read and react and make the play. A lot to be said about that. Now, PFF reported that he missed 11 tackles out of 159 attempts in his career. I think they gave him like an 80 in the 85 range of PFF grades, which is Pro Bowl according to their rating system. Now, he was defensive MVP of the national championship game. He reported himself saying that he played a lot of different spots and had to be very he had to be very flexible. And I think that's going to be a lot about the Vikings offense, is that they're going to be flexible with their safeties. He may be in the box. He may be playing deep safety. They're going to be really creative with the Vikings defense this year. Now, Field Yates from ESPN, he said new Vikings safety Lewis Cine did not allow a TD as a primary defender in pass coverage last season on 500 total pass coverage snaps. Pretty impressive. The most coverage snaps by any FBS defender without allowing a TD all year. So Lewis Cine was on people's radar, and we'll talk about that. But let's talk about the first round of Georgia defense. Travon Walker, Jordan Davis, Kawhi Walker, Devontae Wyatt, and Lewis Cine set a record for the most players on the defense drafted in the first round. That was pretty impressive. Georgia's defense was amazing, but a lot to be said that Lewis Cine was the main guy on that defense. He was calling the plays, and I believe it was reported that Kevin O'Connell, he stated that the team talked to a bunch of Georgia Bulldog defenders. Which one of your teammates would you love to bring with you? And Lewis Cine was mentioned a lot. So that talks about what kind of person Lewis Cine is, that he's well respected by his teammates. The other players on the team wanted to be with him, want him to be on the team with him. So he got a lot of respect from the Georgia Bulldog defense. Now, I'm going to read this little write-up about Lewis Cine. It kind of tells you where he came from, his career. He's third-year junior, 2-year starter. Love him, one scout said. He's a run and hit, mean kid. He will try to get into your soul. Plays with such great effort. He's a ball-playing Jesse. He's a different kid. I don't know how well he's going to fit in every locker room. He's very high on himself. I think the kid's smart enough to accept coaching. One of the hardest hitters in the draft. He knocked out Kyle Pitts at Florida in 2020. I saw the play. It's pretty amazing. Honestly, he talks about how he needs to learn about tackling. Honestly, he's a very safe tackler. He's not a headhunter. He doesn't lead with his helmet. That's just my viewpoint of seeing plays that he's made. It was like it was like a post route. Pitts missed a game with a concussion and nasal surgery. Not a really big kid, but wiry and can run. He was born in Haiti and moved to Florida at age 4. Played 3 years in high school at Everett, Mass, and another at Cedar Hill in Texas, where an assistant coach at the school was Deion Sanders. Was discovered by Deion, said a third scout. They say the kid is quirky, and he isn't. And in his interviews, he's a little bit of a odd personality. I wouldn't necessarily be scared of that. He's straight line speed, however, up in coverage. I thought he could play down. He doesn't have a ton of experience in the middle of the field, but he can do it. Played free safety, finished with 145 tackles, 3.5 for loss, 2 picks, 16 pass breakups, and no forced fumbles. Wonderlick of 16 was suspended twice for fighting. He's not a first. Said the fourth scout. Not a great man cover guy. He'll knock the living shit out of you, quote unquote. Now, this was all over the place. I don't see the fact his interviews he's done since he's been interviewed by the Vikings, the NFL Network, has been very good. So, and yes, he is high on himself. But he's not so out there like Deion Sanders was, where he's super cocky. I think he just has a lot of respect for his own game, a lot of confidence. And he is a little bit quirky, but not off the wall, not out of the ordinary. Deion Sanders, he does give a lot of credit to. So I'm just adding a little bit to this write-up. This was all done pre-draft. So since the draft, more stuff comes out, more videos, more interviews, things like that. He respected Deion Sanders because of Deion Sanders' faith, bringing an old school mentality to his game, even though he said it was still relevant to today. So he gives Deion Sanders a lot of credit for his game. And that's, and Deion Sanders is showing that he can coach a little bit in college football and definitely recruit. Now, doing the research, you come across some fans and some of my favorite quotes. There's just two of them. Lewis Cine was UGA's leading tackler, led the team in pass breakups, and won the defensive MVP of the national champ game. And y'all talk about the pick like he's going to be a defensive version of Treadwell before he's even played a down of football. Who raised y'all? Now, this is a great quote because, there's so many people freaking out saying Kwesi should be fired. This was a terrible pick. It's all because the fans didn't know who he was, because they didn't think we would drop down to 32 and that, we would take a Hamilton or a Jordan Davis or even, a couple of the other corners that were there. Even a Booth Jr., who we took in the second round, would have been a potential pick in the teens. There wasn't much talk that we dropped down that far. I actually made a joke about how, the Lions traded off Matthew Stafford, and in that pick ended up being, the Super Bowl pick, because the Rams ended up winning the Super Bowl, and that pick went all the way down to 32. So I made fun of that. Here we go and trade down to 32, and egg is on my face. So I got a kick out of that, but I got a bigger kick out of this quote on Twitter, how this Vikings fans chastising, just because a lot of fans did not know who Lewis Cine was, including myself. So post-draft, I dug into Lewis Cine to see who he was, how good a player he was. I thought the only safety we would have went after was Kyle Hamilton. I didn't realize we were looking at others, and I honestly didn't realize there was that many good ones. So bad on me. Now, here's another one. This is funny. Lewis Cine's player comp is the Green Goblin in the hotel scene of No Way Home. And if you ever saw that, he basically brings down a building. So he's, again, legalized violence is the best way to describe Lewis Cine. And again, my favorite quote from commentator was Chris Sims. You mean he runs through walls and he has 3 rockets up his ass? Sign me up. So I love the quotes coming out about Lewis Cine. Everything talks about how he's a ball player. He's aggressive. He's shot out of a cannon. He lays the big hit. He's a little light, but he's still 6'2" and lengthy. So there's a lot of good about his game. Now, there is talk about, hey, where did other people have him? PFF had him graded 26 overall. I think it was 26 or 27, but I think it was 26. So there's a lot of places that had him in the first round. Others had him barely out of the first round. But there's no doubt that this guy worth the first round pick, and including Dallas Cowboys, where Jerry Jones screws up again, shows his draft board, gets blown up. Sure enough, Lewis Cine was ranked 13 on their big board. Now, they didn't draft him. They picked before the Vikings, but they didn't draft him. So again, Lewis Cine ranked 13 on their board. They pass on him. We actually draft him at 32. So that being said, at least somebody else had him in the teens. And that kind of coincides with what Kwesi said, that we had Lewis Cine in the teens, ranked as one of on our big board. So a lot to be said about that. Now, Lewis Cine's contract being number 32, the pick comes with a signing bonus of $5,539,382 and the contract value of $11,494,150. We potentially will have a 5th-year option on him, which is great. That might save us money if he turns out to be a big player. 15, 20,000, somewhere in there for a number 1 safety. We would get him for 9,000-10,000. So, or 9 or 10 million. I said 9 or 10,000. 9 or 10 million. So a lot to be said about that. Now, what would the Vikings starting defense look like? Or Vikings starting secondary? Patrick Peterson, who was a top 5 overall pick. Andrew Booth Jr., who I'm going to do my next video on with him. 2nd round pick. Should have been a first. I had him as a 3rd or 4th best cornerback, but I thought he was the 3rd best cornerback, even over McDuffie. So Cam Dantzler, who was a 3rd round pick, who had a good rookie year, stumbled a little bit last year. Harrison Smith, 1st round pick. Lewis Cine, 1st round pick. And Cam Bynum, 4th round pick. Now, all those players could be on the field at the same time in a dime defense. So Patrick Peterson, top 5. Andrew Booth Jr., 2nd round. Cam Dantzler, 3rd round. Harrison Smith, 1st round. Lewis Cine, 1st round. Cameron Bynum, 4th round. So there's a lot to be said about the draft capital we spent on our secondary. This could be the big improvement. This could be the big push. Now, if we can milk a couple years out of Patrick Peterson, we could start filling in the gaps here. We did take another safety in one of the later, another cornerback in one of the later rounds, which I will do a video on and see where he fits in. Now, that's it for today. That was Lewis Cine. I really like him. He's worth the 32nd overall pick. Whatever you think about the trade, we still got a good player. We still got a 3rd, an extra pick that, we were able to leverage and get other picks for that pick. So there's a lot to be said about what we did in the 2nd and 3rd round. Now, this is Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm your host, David Shelsky. If you could, go down and make a comment. Tell me what you thought about the pick. Tell me about what you thought about the trade. Give me a grade. I don't care. Whatever you want to do, go down and make a comment. But while you're down there, hit like, hit subscribe, ring the bell if you could. Help me keep more Minnesota Vikings content on the air. I appreciate it. I'll see you next time. Before we leave, though, I will end this with Lewis Cine's reaction to getting drafted. Have a great night.
I'm so happy. Oh, my God. Bro, I was just vibing in there, bro. I'm like, yo, I gotta